And it is the last Saturday of the month. So here we are, it's all happening at Odissi. So welcome to another edition of the Bliss Catchers. I must thank Team Odissi for hosting us month on month and putting together this show for us. This is the 29th edition of the Bliss Catchers. It's the third season, and I'm very happy to welcome all of you. I see a lot of new faces, so thank you so much for joining us and joining us on time so we can start on time. The Bliss Catchers is actually a celebration of happiness. If you look at my guests today, I have three of them actually, not two, and I'll tell you why we have three of them. We have Ram over there, we have Mahesh, and we have Tamil Selvan over here. We have three very happy people who are doing stuff that they love doing. And that's why I say that the Bliss Catchers is actually a celebration of happiness. We do this program month on month to celebrate the lives of people and the journeys of people who have gone on to do what they love doing with their lives, in their lives. And this morning, very interestingly, I was kind of rummaging through some old stuff in my cupboard. And you know, in those good old days, we used to write diaries, personal journals. And I managed to lay my hands on a diary from somewhere, you know, in one of the 80s, one of the years of the 80s. And in those diaries, there used to be quotes of people on each day, you know, on each page. And I saw a quote by Confucius, which I, for some reason, seem to have circled and marked it as important. So the quote is a quote that you must have all come across at some point in life, which is, go find a job that you love, and you don't have to work for even a day in your life. It's a very old and popular quote, and many of us have come across it.
Yeah,
So,
what about Jalaluddin Rumi now?
huh?
What about Jalaluddin Rumi now?
This morning it started with Confucius, so I'll stay with Confucius for now. People know that I love Jalaluddin Rumi's poetry and I do talk about him, but for a change today it was Confucius that started my day. So I felt that that quote kind of resonates with what we try to do at the Bliss Catchers. Of course, many years after, many centuries after Confucius, it was Joseph Campbell who promoted the idea of following your bliss. And he said that if you follow your bliss, doors will open where only walls exist. And only you will be able to see those doors. So that's the journey that we try to capture here month on month. We have interesting guests who have been with us. And today again we have two very interesting guests. And I will introduce them very quickly. But I'd also like to add why we do it, which is when I say we, why Vani, my wife, and I do this program month on month. This is not the only program that we do. For us, our purpose in life is to inspire happiness. We ourselves are going through a very difficult, challenging, painful time in life. We're going through a bankruptcy. If you Google us, you'll find us. We have a very strong internet footprint. And going through this very dark phase in our life, we find that we are very, very happy sharing what we have learned about life. And what we have learned is that it is possible to be happy despite your circumstances. Your circumstances cannot pin you down if you don't allow them to pin you down. And so inspiring happiness is our purpose, and we do not just one event, but we do 4 events across the city, all of them in different forms, different flavors, and the Bliss Catchers is one of them. Now, in a way, I was thinking about this when I was riding in here. I was thinking about a man who's a good friend, who's a great filmmaker, Gautam Vasudev Menon. And Gautam made a very popular film called Vinnai Thandi Varuvai. And in that film, he unwittingly did a lot of service to Bliss Catchers. Not the program itself, but Bliss Catchers in general. Because he said, there is a character in that film who keeps answering Simbu's question. Simbu is always in a dilemma, if you remember that film, on should he go after the girl or should he not go after the girl. And he says, the character called Ganesh says, Inge enna solludhu? Jesse nu solludha? So I think the the Bliss Catchers as a program, as a concept, really reminds people that we live one life. It's a limited period offer. And we got to listen to Ingena Solludhu, more than Ingena Solludhu. So that's really what the story behind Bliss Catchers is, as an initiative, as a concept. I'm happy to share with you somebody, present to you somebody who's really followed what he heard from here. And that brings me to a very short segment before we go into the conversation itself. And this segment is called the Bliss Catcher Impact. So in this segment we have a guest from the audience, a member of the audience who regularly is part of the Bliss Catchers program. We have an audience member coming and sharing with us what impact the series has made on their life, on their thinking. And this time I have my good friend and a person who's really following his own bliss. He started in his journey in that direction, Tamar Selvan. Tamar is heading a startup called Future Captains, where he's seeding the idea of bliss catching among young people, among students particularly. He's going to talk to you about that. But he recently quit his job at Cognizant to be able to do what he loves doing. So I'm going to invite Tamar Selvan to talk to us about what he picked up from the sessions of Bliss Catchers that he has attended in the past. So over to you, Tamar. Here's your mic. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So I think I was always in a Bliss Catcher because before I think after I finished college, I chased my wife. She's right there. So I always followed my passion. So right there's an example. But once I started my work, I think somewhere I kind of failed to figure out what I really can do with my life. I have been working for the last 16, 17 years, and Cognizant was my last company. So I was just going through this kind of a question that was very intriguing about, like, why is that we are always unhappy with the work that we do? Right? Most of us, I keep seeing people who are like keep worrying about the work they do. They don't like the boss, they don't like the subordinates, they keep complaining. And I was just wondering why this happens. And later I figured out that we get to do things which we generally don't like, and that leads to a lot of frustration, stress levels, and so on. Thanks to the pharmacies and hospitals that was being, all this is adding up to the entire scenario. So later I figured out that somewhere if we can come up with something which helps people to figure out what they can do with their life, kind of talk about what strengths they have, rather than the weaknesses, right? Rather than telling them what can they do with their life, rather than what they cannot do, because the world always focuses on our weaknesses. That's what I always figured out. Those are the kind of feedbacks I always receive. And sometime in 2014 when I met Avis, I mean, kind of struck a chord, and I thought, yeah, this is a man, somebody who talks about happiness, right? Because that is also I believe in. So that's when I got the seed of the idea of Future Captains. Then I started pursuing this idea even further. So kind of 4 years of employment and side by side, I had to pursue this idea because I thought somebody has to do it. Like Elon Musk says, like, even the probability of failure is much higher. You still have to do it because there's no other way, right? For things, because it's very important for us to accomplish. So I kept my employment. I had to keep it going because I have a family, 2 kids, so I have to ensure that my bills are paid. But at the same time, I had to follow my heart because somewhere deep down I felt a sense of purpose. So thanks to Avis, because I think Dr. P. Srinivas, that was their first Bliss Catcher session. It was called as Follow Your Bliss.
Follow Your Bliss, yeah.
And Dr. Ambika was also there. So I remember that conversation about Jeevan Blood Bank, all the stuff. I started feeling like, I think I should just keep it going, and as he rightly said, doors will open. Probably, after a lot of struggle and everything, I figured out that doors open, and 2017 February, I came to a point when I had to take a decision of taking a step out of Cognizant. And thanks to Avis, rightly said, Ingena Solludhu, I listened to it, and here I am, and I'm enjoying my life. And I'm really happy to share this experience to you, find people in front of my family as well. And I think I'm just looking forward to it because one day I think this seat will also be mine. And Avis, I think, will still do this session. And that day is not too far. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamil, for sharing your thoughts. And most important, I think, maybe under pressure of time, you didn't mention it. I think one of the things that he told us when he met us was, should I do it, should I not do it? He was in that dilemma. And I think all of us are in that dilemma at some point in life. We want to do something, but we have to do something else in order to keep our life going, which is paying the bills part of life going. And my only contribution was borrowing from whoever wrote the script for Midnight Thandi Varuvaya and whoever wrote the dialogue there. You know, inge enna solludhu Tamil adha follow pannunga. And the rest is all his. Future Captains is a very interesting initiative. Look them up, futurecaptains.com. What they're actually doing is encouraging young children, school children primarily, to follow their passion and link it to a profitable career path, which is something that we often talk about on this show as well. So thank you, Tamil, for sharing that. That brings me, ladies and gentlemen, to the point in today's program where I'm ready to introduce my two guests. We have two wonderful gentlemen here, both representing two different generations, but following their bliss in their own unique, special ways. And I promise you, today's session is going to be, the conversation today is going to be absolutely soulful. So my first guest today is somebody who reached out to me for a completely different reason. Mahesh. I don't know Mahesh from Adam. I didn't know him from Adam. And he happened to see a live Facebook live feed of the Blisscatcher edition of November last year, which was the last season. And we had Shrikant of Agal Films and Sandeep Narayan, the musician, with us. And apparently he was watching the live feed, and he saw the reference to my book, Fall Like a Rose Petal, over there, and he was intrigued by the title of this book, and he reached out to me and he said, you've written this book, what is the name of the book? I forget the name, can you share it with me? And that's how we got connected. And we later met for a cup of coffee, because one of the things that Vani and I like to do is we love stories. And so in his brief introduction, he had said he had quit Cognizant. And what was he doing? I asked him, and he said, right now, I'm just enjoying my life. And I thought that's a very powerful statement coming from somebody who's quit a IT job and saying, I'm enjoying my life. This man is very interesting, so I invited him for a cup of coffee. And that's where I heard his story and his model of 25, 25, 25, which is 25 years to learn, 25 years to earn, and 25 years to enjoy, assuming that lifespan is 75 years. And what does he do now? He travels, he shoots pictures, he's a photographer, and he's a music lover, so he's got an initiative called Madrasana, which takes culture and art, basically performing arts, and takes it out of the auditorium space into a natural setting. And what is this natural setting? His home garden in Besant Nagar. I thought that's a very, very powerful way of getting started on your journey, right? You don't wait for all the pieces to fall together. And that's Mahesh Venkateshwaran for you, ladies and gentlemen. For me, particularly, he's also Mr. Padips, because he's got a double degree from BITS Pilani. And he worked with TCS, and then later worked with Cognizant until a couple of years ago when he quit his job. And he's got a fascinating story. I don't remember much of it, although he did tell me about 6 to 8 months back when we met for coffee. So I'm as eagerly looking forward to listening to his story as all of you. So thank you, Mahesh, for joining us. My other guest today is Ramnath Chandrasekhar, wonderful young man. He's all of 28, and he's got a body of work which spans 15 years already. So again, it's a Blisscatcher introduction. I didn't know Ram existed on this planet. A Blisscatcher who was with us last year pinged me. His name is Santosh of Bambaram. He was in one of our editions last year. And he pinged me and he said, Avis and Vani, you should meet Ram. And since it came from a Blisscatcher and the recommendation was so powerful, I googled on Ram, the story was interesting, and then we met. But what I found about the man was, you will find that when he gets here on stage and he starts talking to you, there's a glint in his eyes. You know, there is innocence and there is a spirit of adventure. There is a daring. There is a deep dive that he makes. And that is very infectious. You cannot come away after meeting Ram without feeling inspired and saying, hey, if he can do it, we can do it too. You know, that's the feeling that I took away that day having coffee with you, Ram. He's touched the lives of over 50,000 children by telling them stories of how to connect and conserve nature, connect with and conserve nature. And he's traveled the length and breadth of the country. He's worked with film crews, particularly some of them National Geographic crews as well. And he's also co-authored a book at his young age called Ganga, More Than a River. He's been featured on many occasions, and particularly the couple of things that come to my mind are the Rolex Award. It wasn't a Rolex Award? It was the young, you were shortlisted for it. Yeah, so he was shortlisted. He's very clear that, you know, we should not hype this up, so I'm sorry for the actual mistake, but he was shortlisted for the Young Laureates program of the Rolex series, right, in 2010. And was the Sanctuary won an award, the Sanctuary magazine, 2011 as the Young Naturalist Award. So those were a couple of good citations he received. He currently works alongside his guru and mentor, who is also here with us. We are privileged to have Shekhar Dattatri, the celebrated wildlife filmmaker over here. So he works alongside him on the Youth for Conservation initiative. And he also works at HLC International School on a very interesting initiative called Kartavyam, which is all about conservation education for children, right? Right? Yeah. So that's Ram for you, and I'm eagerly looking forward to this conversation with Ram as well. So Ram and Mahesh, can I have you both gentlemen join me? Thank you. Made you take the middle one. Okay, so here are your mics, gentlemen. All set. I've just done them all. So the format we follow is that for the next about 40-45 minutes, depending on how the questions flow, I will be in conversation with the two gentlemen. We will take breaks in between to introduce some segments to you. They are popularly known as the quiz segments, and you will have them come up at the right time, and there are these beautiful mugs to be won, and the audience gets an opportunity to ask Ram and Mahesh questions somewhere around 8:05, 8:10 for about 10 minutes, and then we always start and finish on time, so you can time your watches. This program will end at 8:29 p.m. So looking forward to the conversation, guys. All set? Okay. Fantastic. So let me ask my first question to Ram, and then I'll come to you, Mahesh, in a bit. So Ram, what was the earliest influence you had that directed you in the direction of wildlife, nature, conservation, all of this? Because you could have just been another prolific academic that comes out of school, right?
Definitely not an academic. My earliest inspiration was my backyard and the place around my native place. So when I was in 5th or 6th standard, I just walked.
So when you say your native place, what?
It's Pudukkottai.
Pudukkottai.
Yes, and it's surrounded by scrub jungles. When I was in my 5th or 6th grade, I just stepped to my backyard and I found peafowls there. And it started as a fascination and a curiosity, because what are all these birds and animals doing in my house and not in a forest? There used to be sunbirds, tailor birds and various kinds of birds that live in my house. And slowly I started observing them. I used to follow a macaque that comes from the next house. It walks on the door of my house and then it gets to the mango tree and it sleeps there for 3-4 hours in hot sun. It's a very hot place. I used to see these macaques probably in 6-7 feet, and that's how it started. And slowly I had to come out because I couldn't see much in my backyard. And Pudukkottai was also a jackpot because it had a lot of ponds, if you look at a shot from an aerial view, there would be 6-7 ponds in a photograph. And every time when I used to come back from school, I used to roam around those ponds, collect frog eggs, put it in a little fish tub, wait for it to turn to tadpoles and froglets. So that's what I was doing basically, because I didn't want to play cricket because I can't speak much, so I didn't want to play cricket. And every time when my dad was a very, very highly influential person when it comes to nature, because every time when he comes back from his pharmacy, he used to take me to show slender lorises and spotted owlets. So, we would just go on a drive to places like Sittanavasal, and we would see slender lorises 15-20 feet in a small scrub jungle bush. And that's how my interest in natural history started. It didn't start as a passion, it purely started as a fascination and a curiosity. What are these animals doing there? And it was just sheer joy, and it was just something that I can follow all by myself without talking to anybody. So that's how it started.
Oh, fantastic. I just want to add here that both his parents are present here. We have Kumar and Mrs. Kumar, both of them. Sir, Kumar and Mrs. Kumar, both of them are here. And I'm sure they will enjoy the conversation as much as we will. So let me ask you a related question. So, interest in nature and in the fascination you talked about to natural history on one side, but how did you lean towards photography and later on towards filmmaking? We'll go to filmmaking a little later, but photography, how did it start?
It started because for my dad's 25th wedding anniversary, he gifted me a camera. And I'm glad that I started first as a naturalist and then as a photographer, because I wasn't just going around with a camera clicking whatever I see. I was fascinated by nature much before I got a camera. And when I got a camera, it was a tool for me to document these beautiful biodiversity. And that's when I was also moved to Chennai. And it suddenly opened up my exposure to wildlife. I could get Sanctuary Asia magazine from the stands. I could go to British Council to read National Geographic and BBC. It was Nature Quest was an organization that had just started. So every month there used to be an activity on wildlife. People used to come and talk about turtles, orchids from Wayanad, and you would see documentaries like Queen of Trees. These all just furthered my interest, because I was doing some field work and I was also reading and watching naturalists. So it was brilliant. And when I got a camera, I started shooting transparencies. I feel bold when I talk about this, but I do have a role of...
You feel old?
Yes. So I do a lot. I used to do a lot of photography in Periyar. I used to go there, talk to the deputy directors there, tell them that I'm interested
How
in this.
old were you when you were doing all this?
I was in 9th and 10th. Photography was 9th and 10th.
Okay.
So one fine day, I had a bunch of slides, and I was photographing in Periyar. And that was the exact time I also attended a film screening in Satyam. It was one of Shekhar's films, it's Nagarjuna, takes from an Indian jungle. And it was just magical, because you're watching a blue chip natural history film on a big screen with that sound, jaw-dropping wildlife, wild dog sequence, radio calling tigers, the tiger's call. It just blew me, and the gripping interaction just blew me. So I sneaked through the crowd and I wanted to meet Shekhar. So I told him, I'm very much interested in wildlife, can I come and meet you? So he just said, you can call and come. He gave me his card, you can call and come. So I went back home, I called my dad, there's this filmmaker Shekhar, you just have to come from Pudukkottai because you have to go and meet him. Then he got a bus, he came and got some papayas for the regular tradition. So we went home and he had the slide sorter that was arranged. It's basically a device that emits white light and you can keep slides in it, and a little loop. That is like a magnifying glass, so you can see each slide. So he saw every slide and he moved most of it to the left, except two. It was a photograph of a cruiser butterfly and a barking deer. So he said, this is also not so good, but I don't want to disappoint you, but keep trying. So that was the first positive feedback that I received, and of somebody's film that I just watched. Since then I've been knocking his doors to get my ass kicked so that I go back, improve and perform better in the work that I do with schools and education.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens. Two points I'm picking up here. One is, look at the excitement in his voice. He's talking about things that happened like almost 15 years ago, but he's still referring to them as if they've just happened. They're so fresh, and I really hope, Ram, this stays fresh with you when you reach my age and beyond, you know. And I'm sure it will. You know, the kind of passion you are exuding is amazing. The other point I'm picking up is Campbell again. Doors will open, and by his father could have gifted him anything, but his father gifted him a camera, right? And he could have been in Satyam Theatre watching any other movie but this. But he ended up watching Shekhar's movie, Shekhar's film, and he could have met Shekhar, and Shekhar could have said, if I didn't know Shekhar, I would have imagined Shekhar could have said this. But Shekhar is not the kind of person who's going to say, Shabash, great work. You know, Shekhar is the honest guy who's going to give you honest perspective. And a coach's greatest role is to be able to raise the bar for the person that is being coached, or the person who's looking up to being coached. And that's really what I'm picking up from your story. That Shekhar's conversation with you at that moment was very pivotal in encouraging you to do better, right?
Actually, it was not a conversation. It was a point blank arrow.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll pause your story and move to Mahesh's story here. Mahesh's story, is really very interesting, because here's a person who seemed to have devised this structure of 25, 25, 25. It's a model, I call it. 25 years to learn, 25 years to earn, and 25 years to enjoy. So I'm really curious to understand at what time in your life did you come up with this 25, 25, 25 math? It's nice to have a math. We all, as I used to, I wrote in my, the journal that I was looking up today really had an entry saying, I want to be the Prime Minister of India, and my personal journal. So, but then I've given up that, that direction long back in my life. So my related question is, how did you come to the math, and how did you stay on course? Were you not drawn by the temptations of the high-flying corporate life? High-flying, ladies and gentlemen, is that he was EVP and MD at Cognizant when he quit, and he was managing a $1 billion business for them. Business worth $1 billion. So that's a lot to give up. So how did you do that?
Good evening, and thanks for having me here. And before I get into that, I just want to clarify the initial introduction you did. The moment you used the word Padix, my son turned towards me and said, Padix sir. I think we have to go to Spilani, I guess. But so to your question, I think it all started in college. You know how college life is, especially when you are in a hostel. You tend to discuss everything under the sun in your hostel room and at 2 a.m. in the morning, starting from how you're going to change the world hunger problem to discussing every step of the item number of Leena Das in Aitbar movie. You cover everything under the sun, and during one of those late night discussions, we were talking about our future, what we want to do, etc. And one of them mentioned about this interview that he heard that talked about a wealthy man and how he wants to distribute his wealth. And he said, 1/3 of my wealth I want to give to my children, 1/3 I want to give to charity, and 1/3 I want to spend on myself. So the third part is what intrigued us a lot. So like, wow, this is phenomenal. And if you have to earn and enjoy during your lifetime, that's brilliant. And at that point in time, we had not graduated yet, we had not got a job yet, but the discussion we had was how to quit, and we had a bet amongst ourselves on who would quit the corporate job at the earliest. So that was a starting point on why we came into the zone of let's get the wealth as quickly as possible. We'll be doing different things across the world, but come out of it as quickly and start spending money on yourself. So that was the starting point. And obviously we all went our ways. Everybody had their own careers. The toughest part, I guess, is when you quit. At what point you want to quit. And I think it all depends on the trigger that it has. For different people, the triggers are very different. And to me, I mean, I was very, very lucky. After TCS, I moved into Cognizant. When I moved into Cognizant, we were just about 300 employees. And when I quit, we were about 150,000 employees. So I grew with the company, great company. The growth that it has had is phenomenal. And as an early person who joined the company, I got all the freedom in the world to do what I want. And so I grew very rapidly there. But as I grew in the company, I realized one thing, that there are a lot more smarter guys who are much younger than me who are doing a phenomenal job. And I was there because I was there. I had my time. I'm a leader in the organization, and everybody was looking up to me. But beyond that, I felt I was really not adding any value. The younger guys are much smarter, and why am I here just as a block? The age gives me the benefit, but beyond that, somehow it was I was not happy with what I was doing. Obviously, when you're successful, and I was managing, like you said, $1 billion portfolio at the time, so everything was going positive as far as the career is concerned. But the sheer idea of continuously reinventing yourself and wanting to do something different all the time, and seeing that the others are much smarter and doing much better, I somehow felt I should not be earning a pension while I'm earning a salary. So I decided that's enough, and I quit on my birthday, and on a planned basis. At that point in time, I mean, obviously the whole idea of 25, 25, 25 was based on those 3 buckets that we heard during the college times. So it has a zing to it, yeah, 25, 25, 25, but in real life, personally, the first 25 happened, yeah, but the second 25 was 23, but I'm not complaining because I added 2 more years to the last 25. But that's how it happened. Just to split your thought into 3 buckets on, you spend one third of your life gaining knowledge, second gaining wealth, and third gaining personal experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to come back to you. So the math in your personal case is 25, 23, 27.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to come back to that decision around that birthday time that you quit. But, a key point that we need to understand here, the career was progressing. There was a lot of responsibility from 300 people organization to a 150K organization. The portfolio of business being managed was $1 billion, but I was not happy. That's a very important point. Now, many of us are caught in that space where there is growth, but there is a vacuum. And we are struggling to relate to and understand why that vacuum is there in the first place. When you seemingly have everything, perks, you reason, society makes you reason like that. And I want to come to that point now and ask you a very focused question. Describe that time when you had to now take that call to quit. And did the organization not try to hold you back, or did you at any point in time sway between clarity and insecurity? Clarity and fear, let us say. What will happen if I quit? I'll be losing an important income stream. And I do understand IT jobs do come with a lot of perks. You're going to give away a lot of that.
Yeah.
So how was that moment, and what clinched it finally?
So to me, I think obviously when you are at a place in the organization where you're an executive, obviously there is a lot of money that you need to leave on the table if you decide to quit. Any corporate person would have a dilemma. For me, what I have was more important than what I possibly would lose if I come out. So that part of the math was never in my mind, that what is it I'm going to lose if I come out now. But the decision of quitting was very, very clear to me. But it happened over a period of time. I internalized it, obviously, that I need to quit at a certain point in time. But obviously I want to time it right. So I discussed, obviously the management was very supportive. They tried retaining all right, but at the same time I was very clear on what I want to do, and so they were very supportive on me getting out of it. But the idea of quitting is very difficult when things go extremely well for you as a company, as an organization, as a career. You see no reason why you need to quit because everything is stacked up for you. But the whole idea of what else can you do if you come out of it is such a liberating feeling that you have to pull the trigger at some point in time. And I thought the sooner we do that, the better, because all the things that you want to do, if you do it in the peak of your health and life, it's much better than when you get everything and finally you realize, yeah, I'm now at the end of my retirement age and now my health is not okay, so what do I do now? So I want to accumulate as much as that life as possible so that I can do several things that I wanted to do in my life. And very clearly, I didn't want to get back to the corporate world. That was a very, very conscious decision of not getting back to corporate, not going back to the 9-to-5 job, but do several things that that I can have an impact on, either personally or to the community. So that feeling of, the liberating feeling of what all you can do and what all you can impact is far more powerful than just sticking on to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
That drove the decision.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm going to come back to you for more on that. But what I'm picking up again is something very, very beautiful. He says he was more focused on what he has than what he would have in the future. And here I will kind of satisfy all my fellow Rumi lovers. Rumi says, forget the future. I'll worship anybody who can do that. So it's a very powerful thing if you can forget the future and think of what you have than what you will have. And the second point he talks about is the liberation, that sense of liberation, about the immense possibilities that await us if we let go of what we are clinging on to and are willing to explore the world with open arms. That's what he's really talking about. And his exploration is very powerful. We'll come back to that. But before I go to Ram, in my next set of questions for Ram, I'm going to take a quick break to come to you, to the audience, to give you your mugs through my quiz questions. Okay? Now these questions are on my two guests today. And just to see how well you are engaged, these are very easy, simple questions. If you've heard every word which has been spoken, you'll find that these questions are easy to answer. And whoever answers, and my decision will be final if two people shout at the same time, 2 hands go up at the same time. Whoever catches my attention gets the mug. So my first question is on Mahesh. Okay? Are you all ready?
Yes.
Yes. Please connect Kumar Mangalam Birla to Mahesh. The family cannot answer.
Birlas.
I thought I heard the answer to the back. Can somebody give me the answer to the back? Come forward. Yes. Right here. Sir, please come forward. Can somebody else give the full answer so the audience knows?
Birla Institute of Technology.
Vince Pilani, absolutely right. Vince Pilani. He's the chancellor. Kumar Mangalam Birla is the chancellor of the university. What's your name?
I'm Srivatsan.
Srivatsan. Thank you. Thank you.
Pilani.
Oh, you're a Vince Pilani alumni. Maybe I should have disqualified you. Nevertheless. Okay. Okay, this one is, I think, equally easy, so don't kill me if you don't get the answer. Okay, at least I framed it with equal level of ease. Okay. Please connect Ram to a very famous Raj Kapoor film. Look at the silence. Yes?
Ram Teri Ganga Maini.
Well, I didn't see the connection there. I'll still give it to her. I'll still give it to Rachita because she didn't know the question was coming. Okay. Please come forward, Rachita. Yes. And this is a beautiful moment because they both are going to get married. Yes, it is Ram Teri Ganga Maili. That was a 1985 Raj Kapoor film. And because Ram has written this book on Ganga being more than a river, I framed that question, but I had no clue Rachita was going to answer it. Nor did she have a clue that she was going to answer it. Anyway, thank you. So let's continue with the conversation. And for those of you who had the answers and who didn't get the mugs, please keep joining us every last Saturday. There are more mugs, and you will have your chance, your moment in the sun as well. Okay, Ram, coming back to you. So you met Shekhar, and that was an important point. But this, at one level, passion is very different from pursuit, right? When you are passionate about something, but to be able to decide, you need an inflection point. You need something to tell you, man, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Was there any such incident that happened in your life?
I had that incident only now, that this is what I wanted to do, something in my life. But when one of the main influences for me to pursue this was a short work in Agumbe. Because I was neither a Padip like Mukesh, and I didn't come from a great alumni background. So when I was in my bachelor's, I was looking at every opportunity to find a place where I can just be in forest for many months. So whenever I used to open magazines like Sanctuary and all that, I used to read the last letters of editor kind of page, and I used to look at who all has given their email IDs, send emails to everybody, and if is there an opportunity where I can come, because it's very, very hard. And at that time I wanted to become a filmmaker, not now, at that time. So there was one opportunity where a very acclaimed filmmaker, Sandesh Kadur from Bangalore, he said, I'm doing a documentary on king cobras, and it's for National Geographic, but we are doing that documentary, do you want to come and assist us? I said, it's incredible, because that was the opportunity for me to quit college. By that time I had not even been to college more. So I have not been to a rainforest before, nor have I even seen king cobras, which is it's the longest venomous snake in the world. And I had absolutely no idea about the difficulty of being in a rainforest, leave alone work. But I just said, let me go. I packed my bag and everything. I went to there, and it was for 7 months. It was from March until September. And as a field assistant, you have to do everything, which is actually incredible, because you get to learn every single aspect, and you get to prove yourself. You get to, right from cleaning cars to cleaning equipment to recording sound, you get to do everything. So one of the incidents was filming a king cobra building a nest. So picturize a 14 feet long snake building a nest. It happens towards the end of May, where this particular snake, the female king cobra, it finds a spot, it makes its body into a noose like this, and it gathers a pile of leaves, and it will put it on top in one place, and it will keep doing that. And it will keep doing that for a long time, that the nest would, the length would be around 5 to 6 feet, and the height would be 2 to 3 feet. And this is happening in a place which is the second wettest place in India, and it receives torrential downpour at that time. And 110 days, approximately 110 days after the female king cobra lays its eggs, during the torrential downpour, and when the hatchlings come out of the eggs, you will not find a single drop of water in the egg chamber. That's how amazing nature is. So that was a moment that I really thought, okay, this is what I wanted to do. But later I changed my mind. I didn't want to do that. So that was the moment.
So it kind of gave you that focus at that time.
Yeah.
But it was an important part of your journey, right? In a sense.
Definitely, because it tested my endurance, and it showed how incredible rainforests are. Because every square feet of rainforest you will find something. And you will not find animals like charismatic tigers, but you will find incredible insects, amazing mud-puddling butterflies, bush frogs that you will not find anywhere, that's colored orange and green. So it is an incredible place if you are a naturalist. And
how did you negotiate? Your parents are here, but how did you negotiate not being in college and being in Agumbe, for example, or on many of your other naturalist escapades?
Well, I had a very good equation. I have a very good equation with my dad. So he wanted to become a doctor, but he couldn't. So he knew what I wanted to become. But primarily, I had a lot of dialogue. Whenever I used to go for a film screening event, or whenever somebody comes for talk, I used to take my mom. My mom and I were here in Chennai from my 9th grade, and I used to take my parents, my mom, along with myself. And until 2 years back, I was constantly having dialogues, conversations, because that was I had a lot of dialogues and conversations.
I think he's making a very, very important point. You know, a lot of life decisions can only be influenced and taken through conversations and through vision sharing. A more crude way of saying it is by selling your idea. And I think we all have to be very good salespeople to be able to sell our ideas to parents, to spouses, to siblings, to partners. And unless you sell those ideas, you're not going to get support. So I think I can totally relate to this fact about having a dialogue with the family and engaging them in what they believe in doing. And I want to here celebrate the parents as well, both Mrs. and Mr. Kumar. I can't picture Ramnath Chandrasekhar, the doctor or the engineer, talking so enthusiastically about what he's doing. You know, as much as I definitely not, right? As much as I can picture him sitting right here and feeling taking us into that rainforest in Agumbe. I'll come back to you, Ram, very quickly, but let me go to Mahesh's story here. So Mahesh, when you quit, what was the idea? What is this definition of enjoy? Enjoy can mean anything. You could have just put up your feet at home and let your ROI take care of you. You know, obviously people do, unlike me and Vani, people do make prudent life financial decisions. But you could have done that. But you seem to have taken a very interesting path. So can you walk us through what your definition of the enjoy phase is really all about, and how it has unfolded so far?
So after I quit Cognizant, I was really in bad shape when I was in the corporate world, based on travel and stress levels and everything. So I said I'd first take care of that. So first 1 year I took care of my health, fitness, and all that good stuff. Then I said every alternate year I would travel India, and every other alternate year I will do a personal project for myself. So I quit on my 48th birthday, and when I entered the 50th year, I said I will travel India and I will do different things that are factors of 50. So 50 or something, 25 or something. So I said I will visit 50 places of worship, 25 nature spots in India, 10 Indian festivals, 5 unique villages, 2 unique personalities, and 1 personal project. So if you sum all that up, you will get 93. So I said I'll do 93 by 50. So that comes to my Padip's thing of 1.86. And I called it Project 1.86, and I traveled across India. And through that, I not just saw India in a very different lens, but I also met a lot of different people.
What does this travel really mean? Like you took a plane, you went somewhere, you booked yourself into a hotel. How did you do it?
So I used the first 1 year to plan for the next 1 year. I published a calendar, and anybody who was interested can join me. I didn't include my family at all in the planning. So if they want to join, they can join. So for some, my first son joined, some my wife joined, some of my friends from US traveled for this and joined me. But predominantly, I published the entire calendar, took a flight to various places, and then booked the trains, hotels. I didn't have the mind to do backpacking and just go anywhere. Maybe the fear of unknown, I don't know what I'm missing, but maybe the next year when I will start doing that. But essentially, just use the 1 year to plan out the entire year, because the things that I wanted to see in India are not normal places. It's all abnormal, very difficult to reach, and things which we don't even know exist in India. And so that travel really helped me to see what India has to offer, and more importantly, the type of people that I saw during those visits are amazing stories. And that I did for 1 full year. Then the last year, again, I was back home. I wanted to, when I quit Cognizant, one of the things I told myself is, when I looked at all my batchmates in college, all of us are doing the same degree, but now each one is in different fields altogether. And the thought was, what if I had not come into IT? Could I have made an impact on an industry which I absolutely don't know? So I picked the industry which I love. My family is all musicians. So I said I should do something for music. And I tied up with a few musicians, helped them on creating a music documentary, and the music went to Grammys at that time. I started something specific for music at my home, like you said, the degree. So the entire year I spent time on focusing on those individual projects. And again, next year, starting August, I timed it with my birthday, so from August to August, I travel.
You travel.
And then again I travel. As part of that, the enjoyment comes from different things that I want to do, be it music, photography. I learned photography after I quit Cognizant. I learned it formally from some online US outfits.
And you're an amazing photographer. He's an amazing photographer, by the way.
Yeah,
His pictures are very candid, very beautifully.
Yeah, and that helped in a way. Photography is a means to an end. Also, I realized that if I have to get into an industry I don't know, like the Carnatic scene in Chennai, the easiest thing to do is to go to every sabha out there and start taking pictures of all these artists and give it to them, and they become friends immediately. So then the conversation was very easy for me to bring them home, talk about my project, and that's how I used some of those various interests to suit my needs. But essentially, anything that is interesting, any person that is interested in anything to do with education, I go and I help. And in the process, the type of people, for example, during one of those travels, I met a tea wala in Cuttack, who every day used to earn whatever he earns and put 50% of what he earns into a bucket. And then he invited me and said, let me tell you what I do with that money. So he took me to his slum area, and he built a school right in front of the slum. And he says, I use all this half the money to fund the teachers so that the slum children can come and learn. And so such powerful people that you meet, it's amazing what you can do with such people. Same way we met some teacher in Gujarat area who was doing a phenomenal job. So all small things, small excitement you get by helping them, but the impact or the multiplier effect that you create based on your own personal knowledge and what you can do basing on your corporate experience, it's incredible what you can do with that. So that's how
I think what I'm hearing Mahesh really say is that there is a lot more to life than work and feeding yourself. That's really is what his experience is showing. His definition of enjoyment is going and experiencing the big beautiful world. Now, most of the time I do find, and I was also pretty much like that, is that we tend to intellectualize life. You cannot put life into a framework where you assess it purely on economic gain or loss. I don't think you can value the moment you had with that T1. When you discovered that he's actually funding the teachers in order to help educate slum kids, a T1 are doing that. You can't put value to these things. Most things in life are free, and yet they are priceless. So I think that's what I'm picking up, and that would not have come if you're not strayed out, if you're not ventured out of that corporate role that you were in, right? Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'll go to Ram now. Ram, I'm very curious to know, because I did hear you say that that's what you wanted to do then, but then you found more recently what you really want to be doing. So can you walk us through that journey between starting off as a naturalist, then getting into experimenting with different media, photography, filmmaking, all of that, and coming into conservation education now. So was there a transition that happened in your mind, and or was it a natural progression?
It wasn't a natural progression, and I would say that the transition is still happening. When I came back from Wagon Bay, I wanted to do something that is of a broader purpose, and that's also because of the influence that I had Shekhar, and that's when I always discuss with my dad about what I wanted to do. So I told my dad, if I pursue for another 8-10 years in filmmaking, I may become some filmmaker. But I wanted to explore and find out something that what I want to do primarily. So he said, if this is the time to experiment, you can go and experiment. I would definitely allow it. Then I went back to Shekhar and I told him, I want to do something different. I don't want to do this. Then he had ideas for working with young people. How can we connect young people with conservation, forest and wildlife conservation? It was something that I had not tried before at all. I would have probably gone to a school and addressed students once. But in 2010, when Shekhar told me that you can work with young people in conservation, I also found that very interesting because I love sharing stories. And I love to talk about forests and wildlife. And that was the exact time he had made a film called The Truth About Tigers and another film called The Save Our Sholas. He said, you can take this to schools. So I will take this documentary in my car with the entire equipment, screens, projectors, mics, along with black curtains, so that you have to watch documentary in the right way and go to these schools. In places like Pudukkottai and Tiruchi, there were people who will connect me with schools, and some people in places like Kothagiri, they would say, "Padam kaamikkradhula irukkum, unnala pesa mudiyuma?" Sir, kandipa na pesuven sir. Then I started talking about tigers. I started talking about Shola forest, which is where most of the peninsular Indian rivers originate, like Kaveri, Krishna, and Godavari. And by the time that project ended, I had addressed 50,000 students in Tamil Nadu, in 18 districts. And I said, I have to find more ways, because I felt that, you are just engaging one-off. Like, let's say, for example, if somebody wants to become a filmmaker, there is a learning curve. Somebody wants to become a doctor, you have to study for 6 years, 10 years. There is a learning curve for everything. But if you want to take part in protecting forests and wildlife, if you want to become an ecologically conscious citizen, there isn't a learning curve. There are only talks. And that may inspire, because most of the people like me and many naturalists, well, they were inspired by a park. But today, in this saturated world of media where you're listening to so many people, you're exposed to so many things, you need various mediums where you can connect young people during their formative years.
So is that how you got connected with, let us say, HLC and created a curriculum?
Absolutely. That's how I got connected with HLC.
Okay, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
The initiative with HLC was very unique. They had, it is a school in Semenjeri, and one fine day I got an email from the principal of the school, and he said, I would like to send some of my students to your house, and I would like them to spend 1 or 2 days with you. I was actually stumped, because I had been to schools, but I hadn't, I hadn't had student visitors to my home. So they came home, they shadowed me, they saw what I'm doing, they asked a lot of questions, and I found their philosophy of learning very, very interesting. So when I wanted to take a break from whatever work I was doing, I wanted to do my masters. So I went back to the person who runs HLC, and I said, I want to do something bigger, and I want to do my masters in education, and I come back. He said, why don't you just stay here? We have a really good initiative called Kartavyam. You can build whatever you want in that. So it was again a fantastic opportunity where somebody is giving a blanket opportunity in a school with 380 students, 56 teachers, and an incredible way of connecting with education. And I decided to develop a curriculum where I modeled on wildlife conservationists. for example, if you look at any wildlife conservationist, they would have first observed the natural world, and they would have spent a lot of time exploring them by going there, reading about it, and they would have solved a particular problem on the ground, like the Amur falcon story or like the mining in Kudramukh, and they would have been effective communicators. Talk about it, because there are, you know, in 1.2 billion people who are directly and indirectly connected to nature and wildlife, there would probably be 1,000 people talking about it. So I wanted more young people to take part in it, and I want to build it from scratch. So he said, Naveen said, okay, let's do this. So we built a module called Become an Observer, Become an Explorer, Become a Problem Solver, and Become a Storyteller. And if you look at any change maker, any socially changing individual, be it wildlife or any field, they would have had this curve. So we had a pilot program of that, where I worked with.
So you actually effectively created a framework,
yes,
for young minds,
yeah,
to be taken through.
Yes.
So that you give them the choice to take up conservation.
Yeah, how
as a full time.
Yes, not as a full time. How can you take part from your own career? And you need that path.
Right. And some of them may come in as a full time resource
If
as
you
well.
connect with them regularly, they will.
They will.
Yes.
But you can still be pursuing some other career, but be more aware and responsible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So this is again a very powerful exposition of how the universe kind of connects the dots. And in his case, the principal of HLC reached out to you,
yeah,
right, and gave you this carte blanche to do what you wanted, which is for the first time create a curriculum,
yes,
that gave children a wide range of choice to touch and feel this subject.
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I want to ask you, you said it is evolving,
yeah,
right? Now I'm going to ask you a very personal question. You're free not to answer it. There is Rachita here in the audience as well. I think when you're alone, when you're single, there are some choices that you can make. In your case, your dad's been very supportive, your mom's been very supportive. But then once you, and many of us, why people are laughing is because they can relate to what I'm about to say. They can almost sense it. When a new person comes into your life, and then the demands and pressures of family, raising a family come up,
yeah,
you really don't have that freedom of choice. Have you really thought about it? Does it concern you at all?
Yes. In fact, the universe conspired for that, because every time when I go to these school talks, adult talks, like older people, they would say, I hope you find somebody who's interested in your line. I hope you find somebody who's interested
So all
in
the
your
blessings
line.
came in?
Yeah, so I actually found a person from a small town in Jharkhand who had another big patch of forest behind where she saw jackals and all that.
Okay.
And she's equally interested in a career in social enterprise.
Very nice.
So
So it is working as of now, right? It's working as
I
of now.
again had a dialogue.
Okay.
I had a lot of dialogue. So I always do that.
You know, I don't know if anyone has told you this, but if they've not, let me be the first person. You have a very mature head on your shoulders. You have a very, very, very mature head on your shoulders. Fantastic. I have a related question for you, Mahesh. I think, please do talk a little bit about Mad Rasana, of course. But when you're doing Mad Rasana and you're doing something that's socially powerful, like conserving music and giving it a new flavor, you also record the videos of high quality videos of artists and give it to them for promotion. So you do all of that in Mad Rasana, but also on the other side, living the life of enjoyment where the income stream is closed does have its challenges, right? Do you face those challenges? Are there any times when you sit up and say, maybe I should be doing something to earn an income also?
Yeah, good question. When I decided to quit, obviously I shared first with my wife, and she was very supportive. My father used to be a French writer. He has written close to about 19 books, and after he passed away, Aruna started distributing those books. We wanted to continue that business till the textbook changed. So she was doing that, and the conversation with Aruna was, I plan to quit, is it okay? And she was very supportive. And we wanted to talk about this to the children as well. So we took them out for dinner, and I told them, hey, I'm going to quit. So the younger one, he didn't know how to react.
He was somewhere here in the audience.
That he is.
Yeah.
So he looked at Aruna and said, "And appa business going to India." You know, so the whole thing. I mean, I could understand what was going through their mind. Oh, what's going to happen with all the salary gone? So it's funny. I mean, how people think. But to me, I mean, I think I was very lucky, as I said, because I joined the company very early on. The finance part of it was okay. But what you miss is obviously the industry was very kind of frequent. There were a lot of offers that came to me. But I was very, very clear that if I change the equation to, if I have a certain corpus with me which I can spend on things I like, that was a lot more different than thinking about what if I want to make more money. So the equation was very different in my mind. So it didn't bother me on. There are a lot of. I mean, I was part of a board member for a company that got acquired. So those things came in, but I didn't really do it for the sake of getting money into the bank, but more to help someone, and that's about it. On the Magrasna part of it, so I got very lucky to got introduced to this lovely musician called Pradeep Kumar, who has sung all the great songs in Kabali and others and won national award. He had a very pet project called Purva, where he went and recorded Arunagiri Nagas quietly in Western orchestration, going to Boston and recording the whole thing. And I got introduced to him, and I funded the whole documentary that he created. Through him, I got introduced to a lot of other interesting musicians like Sean Gordon and others. And one of the days when Sean and I were talking, we realized that there is this whole idea of Carnatic music, whatever we hear today are more in sabhas and other things. What if we give a totally different environment to both the listeners as well as to the artists? That was a starting point for us to start Magrasna, where we remove a lot of noise, give clean sound so that the experience is much better, the ambience is very different, and people who have attended the concerts feel that their connect with the artist is much stronger. And it became quite popular, and a lot of artists and a lot of Rasikas came home and listened to it. But during the process, we realized that there is another medium which is not there yet today in the social media, which is to promote classical music in an absolutely distilled form, where we focus only on the artist and nothing else. So we created a separate free YouTube channel called Magrasna Unplugged, where we record one song, one artist, 5 minutes, and every Friday it gets featured. And that became very popular, and we're very, very happy to see the results of it. It went, some of the videos went viral. Some of the young musicians who have never been exposed to the outside world got calls from New Zealand and UK, and so it gives us great pleasure to see how the whole thing is going beyond what we imagined. And in the whole process, of course, there's no commercial intent for Magrasna per se, but whatever we create the digital content, we throw it out, and whatever profit that comes, we share it with the artists, so that it gives them an alternate revenue mechanism for them to increase their revenue potential as well. So the idea is to do things where we are different, and we want to focus on things which others have not done before. At the same time, it has that multiplier effect. That was very, very key for us. Whatever we do, we have to make sure it has a meaningful impact for the artists. And that's how Magrasna Unplugged started. And we're trying to expand the whole portfolio on what the art form can come into the fold. And hopefully in the future, we'll start putting other art forms also into Magrasna.
Great. I love the Magrasna story. I'm not going to talk much about it because he's elaborated it, but the point he made earlier really, really interests me. I think if you look around us, and a lot of us are victims of this thinking, that our desire to earn comes more from insecurity of what will happen if we stop earning, rather than focusing on how can we spend what we have earned in order to fulfill all that we want to do. You know, there's a big paradigm shift that he talked about. You know, there was this decision to quit, and young Nishant obviously asked a very, very important question of his father, as to where the moolah will keep coming from. But the way he was thinking, and possibly here Aruna's role is very important, that she gave him all the support. Where he was thinking is, how can we go live the life that we are capable of living with what we have? And I think if we change that paradigm, a lot of opportunities open up, which is a very important point that you made, Mahesh. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to ask two quick buzzer round questions, okay? Before we go to the, quick, what shall I say, quick fire questions. Before we go there, so keep the answer very brief so we can take some questions from the audience. How do you deal with worry, insecurity? How do you deal with it? Does it arise?
Well, I've been dealing with it in a very terrible way until last year. But a couple of points that I found during the last 1 year is that you have to learn to embrace uncertainty. Point number one. Point number two is, if you are sincere and committed in the work that you do, other sincere and committed people will help you. If you don't have agendas behind your shoulder, you don't want to, make use of a person, but I have only one thing. If somebody can introduce me to a school, and I will take Shekhar's films, I will take whatever I have done, and I will work there. And I have found a way to sustain myself through doing freelance work online. I used to do keynotes in the night. I used to do audio transcription so that I get some extra penny. And I've started working on different workshops. So embracing uncertainty and being sincere and committed to working.
Beautiful, beautiful. Mahesh, same questions. Do you ever deal with worry, insecurity, the income stream is stopped, two young boys, their futures, all those things?
No, I think my situation is very different, right? I mean, I joined the company at the right time, so as far as financial insecurity is concerned, that's not my concern at all. But what concerns me is after I quit, a lot of people come and ask me, so when do I quit? What's the right time to quit? And what I realize in all that is they are stuck because they do not have any other interest other than work. The moment you have something else other than work, it will automatically draw you out, and the insecurity and other things will automatically draw you out.
Well, when is the right time to quit? What are you wanting to quit? Quit worrying? Right now. Quit existing? Right now. So the best time to live is now, because it's the only moment we have. We don't know what's going to happen next. I know what's going to happen next. We're going to have the questions from the audience. Questions, please, not comments. I'm timing this. We have very little time. Geeta's question first. Give the mic to Geeta. The other hand can go up, then I'll know who's coming next. Yeah.
This question is for Ram.
Go ahead, Geeta.
Yes, Ram, from a young boy who enjoyed solitude and immersed yourself in watching birds and everything in your backyard and ponds, and now to somebody who says, "I'm ready for business, but I love sharing stories."
Can't hear.
I'll repeat the question. Please don't worry.
Mic is on, please. Oh, hold it.
We'll repeat the question. I'll repeat the question. Yes.
So, is it your passion that has affected the sea change, the observing, the watching, to the storytelling, learning curve that you did? Is it your passion that has made you change from somebody who enjoyed solitude to somebody who's now sharing his stories? I think Dr. Abdul Kalam would be mighty proud of you because you're igniting young minds to spread their wings of fire. So what converted you to being a master storyteller from somebody who enjoys
I don't know if I'm a master storyteller.
Let's just repeat the question, Ram.
Yeah,
The
the question is, you have been pursuing solitude in the beginning, now you're talking a lot. So is passion firing you up? I would say that 100% the passion is firing me up, because in my field of talking about forests and wildlife, or I would say communicating about forests and wildlife, it is a very minority. There are very less people there, very less people, and if you put environment, then there are so much that will come into play. For example, instead of giving this, I got this from home. Okay, so this is also environment conservation. I can also talk about forests and wildlife. So my primary passion now has been, these are forests that needs to be protected. Because India is an incredible country, which is where the kind of biodiversity that you find is nowhere else present. Himalayas, snow-capped mountains, rainforests, mangroves, salt forests, nowhere else in the world where you will find in a single geographical landscape all these. And they are supporting around 1.2 billion people directly or indirectly, but there are only 1,000, more than 1,000 to 2,000 people who are speaking out for these forests. So I come from a very utopian background, but it's passion that drives me, and I have found the calling now. It's very hard because I started very early. I found multiple callings, and finally I found one thing. But definitely, what we teach children now will determine how forests are protected 15 years from now. I have to start now. That's what's driving me now.
I want to add here a point he made. I followed multiple callings and then zeroed in on what I love doing and what I want to do. And it's a perfectly normal thing to do. We are passionate about many things, but what do we love doing the most? And what can we be best at in the world is very important. And I want to concede here. You're very lucky that you found it at 27, 28, whatever, or maybe a little earlier. I found it at 35. So, you are more profitable than I am, there. Okay, next question, please. Who's asking the next question? Next question, no questions?
Can I say
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One
One second, sir. Somebody's raised their hand. I'll come to you.
Hello. In the lighter vein, you've been extremely lucky.
Yes, sir.
Hailing from a place, Pudukkottai, the rural areas, where you had an opportunity to really interact with nature. Experience our guys in cities. I'd like to share with you, lizard is a common creature in most of our houses. I have a relative in America who were supposed to visit India. When I told them there's lizards, they had to think twice whether to make the visit. So that's the kind of fear. And I have a lady, neighbor, who comes to the village area in Chennai. She says, Mama, when we were young, snakes used to crawl in our houses. We used to take it from the hand and throw it out. I mean, that's the kind of background we all grow up, and that's where you're doing working. And I must appreciate your commitment in growing up with this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. But we'd like questions, please. Questions. If there are questions for the guests, you have a question, sir. Did you have a question, or was it an observation?
It's not a question. It's just a comment.
I'll take it later, sir. I'm running out of time. I'll go here and then to Suresh for the
I
last
have a
question.
question for Mahesh. Mahesh, the experiences that you're having when you travel, are you already documenting it, or do you have a plan of writing it down in some form and sharing it with others?
Yeah, right now I'm just using Facebook as the medium. But someone mentioned that I should try a book. I thought 1 year of experience is not good enough. So I'm planning my next year, starting this August, for 1 more year. So hopefully with more experience I'll have more content to create a book or whatever. So that's there in mind. Thanks.
Fantastic. Last question for the evening, please.
This is from Mahesh. There's a lot we share in common, which we'll take it offline. But if you notice the generation that's behind us, people like Ram, for instance, they are coming with a lot less baggage in terms of the legacy which we carry. We have now pressure to study well, get into the right school, get into the right college, blah blah blah. So, what do you think is the kind of wiring these people have, which we missed out, in that sense? I mean, I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think the fear factor is not there at all, right? I mean, the newer generation can choose to do what they want when they want, whereas we have certain compulsions on certain things on what we want to do. The whole equation of 25, 25, 25 will not exist at all in the next generation, I guess. It may be just 75, I guess, all you know. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The fearless attitude of the youngsters is something that is very, very commendable.
Very good. Jo dar gaya, samjho mar gaya. Remember that. So I think fear is an important debilitating factor. It holds you back. But what are you fearing? Maratha vechavan, dandi uttuva. So that brings us to the end of the Q&A, and we'll now go to the very interesting segment. So stay tuned, everyone. We come with more mugs now, and this time my guests are going to ask you questions. And the right answer, again, please allow me, I'll take the help of the guests to decide who answered right, okay? Or if there are two answers, then who got it first, okay? So I'll first invite Ram to ask his question. So he will ask you a question and you have to answer to win this beautiful mug. And then we'll have Mahesh ask his question. So over to you, Ram.
What are the two rivers that I mentioned that originate from the Shola forests?
Kaveri and Krishna.
Another one?
Kaveri, Krishna and Godavari.
Which one? Who here?
Kaveri, Krishna and Godavari.
Very good.
Sorry, ma'am, I would like to encourage a young person. Sorry about that.
So can we have the answer again for the benefit of everyone?
Yeah. Most peninsular Indian rivers, the one that I mentioned was Kaveri and Godavari, and Krishna, as he has been to my top two.
Okay, very good. Mahesh, your question.
So one of the things, as part of my travels in India, I realized there are so many exotic places in India that a lot of people don't even know. So this question is regarding that. Which is the village in India that is considered to have the biggest dinosaur egg hatchery in the world? If not the village, the state.
Telangana.
Gujarat is okay, but anybody giving the village?
Dholavira.
No. We are still with Gujarat. Anyone has the village name inside Gujarat? Okay, I'll give it to you.
Krishna, please come forward.
The village name is called Rayoli.
Rayoli in Gujarat.
In Gujarat. Please do visit that place.
From one photographer to another.
From one photographer, from a shishya to a guru, you know, because this is the Krishnan, the acclaimed photographer. He'll be my guest on August 12th at the Artist Soul event at Wandering Artist. So Krishnan is a very celebrated photographer doing some great work. Please join us So beautiful. So can you give that answer out again with some details so everyone gets an idea of?
So Rayoli is this place in Gujarat. It's hectares and hectares of land which are still, you can go and see the place. The Indian government has taken as much as possible from that, but left a lot of that to nature. So you can go and touch those fossils. You can see the dinosaur eggs with the locals there. There's a beautiful museum there as well. But more importantly, the government couldn't cordon out the entire place. So the art part of the place has a guest house, homestay. You can stay with her, and the princess, actually takes you to the village where you can see everything. She will show you where the dinosaurs' bones are. You can touch them. She has a collection of dinosaur eggs. And more importantly, which was surprising to me, is there is a dinosaur which is very specific to India called Rajasaurus that came from Gujarat as well. So it's a phenomenal place. You should not miss. So when you are in Gujarat, make sure you visit that place. It's a beautiful homestay as well, so you can enjoy.
Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please bear with me. In the next 4 minutes, we will close this event. But as I go into the last segment, today I want to, on behalf of Odissi, on behalf of our gift partner, which is Hazel, on your seats, you must have found, along with the bookmarks, these beautiful discount cards from Hazel and Madcap. So please do make use of them, share them with friends. And without the support of Odissi and Hazel, we can't be doing this event. So I will invite Vani to now give away small mementos from Hazel to both, Mahesh and to Ram. And we have these beautiful list catcher trophies, which I will hand over one to Mahesh. Mahesh, this is your Hazel hamper. And Ram, this is your list catcher trophy. And your Hazelnut. Fantastic. Please sit down. Thank you so much for joining us. Every month, ladies and gentlemen, ODC makes a phenomenal effort to get this event together. So give them a round of applause. Ashwin, the CEO of ODC, could not be here today, but Parandaman and his team are here and they always make us feel very comfortable. I'm going to end this session talking a little bit about what I feel about what we've just heard today. You know, up there on this promotion, there is a quote by Joseph Campbell, and he says, "Life by itself does not have any meaning. You bring meaning to it, and being alive is that meaning." That's what Joseph Campbell said. I actually relate a lot to this quote of Joseph Campbell from the point of view of what Osho said. Osho said, life has no meaning. So why are we doing all this drama? You know, you came with nothing, you're going to go with nothing. So what is all this drama about, you know, achieving something, holding on to something, acquiring something, clinging on to something? So he says, drop all the drama. And then Campbell came by and gave this beautiful twist to it. And he said, it might be meaningless, it is meaningless, but you can bring the meaning to it. And I think that's what I pick up from these two stories of how two people, two different generations. I'm glad, Suresh, you asked that question. And Mahesh's generation is more like my generation, where many people will hesitate to quit something as big as an EVP position, an MD position in a multinational company. And he brought meaning to his life by saying, there is only a finite time that I'm going to be around, so might as well do what I love doing. And that generation, which is Ram's generation, is, you know, you're very prophetic, I guess, you know, where for them it won't be 25 math at all. There will be no fear, so there will be a complete 75 math. You know, go live the whole life. And you're bringing meaning in your own way by not only living the life that you want to live, Ram, but you're actually encouraging others who are in schools. You're seeding them with the right thinking, which is, I think, very, very commendable. So thank you so much for making your lives meaningful and making our life meaningful this evening with your thoughts and perspectives. Thank you so much. On the 26th of August, we have a Madras Week special of the Bliss Catchers. We have storyteller and actor Janaki Savesh, one of Chennai's very well-known faces, and her story of following her bliss. And we have Akila Krishnamurthy of Ala, where she has given up a media career, a journalistic career, to follow her bliss of being an art curator and manager. And so please join us on 26th of August, last Saturday of August. And if you like today's program and would like to follow me, Avis Vishwanathan is the name, and you can download my app on Google Play or on the App Store to follow my blog posts, podcasts, and video blogs. I do share life lessons daily. That's what is my bliss. So feel free to stay in touch with me. I'll see you around hopefully next Saturday, next month, last Saturday, which is 26th August. Thank you so much for joining us.